the shelf looks full, but the story runs deep. From the port to the store where the whole world keeps. Every box got a mile, every mile got a cost. And the people in the middle know what time can toss. One delay, then 10 more calls. One small break can shake it all. Let's talk supply chain. From the factory floor to the trucks in the rain and the ship at shore.
And happy Tuesday. Welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I am the founder and CEO of Let's Talk Supply Chain, Blended Pledge, and the host of the Blended podcast. And we've got a great show coming up for you today. We've got John here, and he is going to be talking all about the Supply Chain Excellence Awards. We're also going to be talking about inventory accuracy and so much more. But of course, before we bring him up on stage, I do want to give a shout out to our show sponsor. Now, if you have not headed over to secretsocietyofsupplychain.com, I highly recommend you go today. It's our free membership. We have almost 600 members in there, and they're talking all about supply chain. We also have some really cool new programs that are coming out, and we will be going to our members of the Secret Society of Supply Chain first. So if you want to be the first ones to know, head over there and join Secret Society of Supply Chain today. Now, if you're joining us, I want to know where you're tuning in from, so make sure to put that in the comments. And of course, if you like our conversation today, we love a good fire emoji here at Let's Talk Supply Chain. Now, I forgot to share my screen, so just bear with me for 1 second. Here we go. And I'm going to put that up on screen. All right. We've got a brand new episode with Mahesh from Clio. Now, if you attended the Thoughts and Coffee just a couple of weeks ago, I also had Mahesh on the show. And this podcast is all about bridging planning and execution. It's kind of the next frontier of orchestration. And you've heard me talk about how collaboration is the future of business. It's here. It's table stakes. It's no longer the future. I need to change the sign behind me because orchestration is essentially collaboration in motion, and it's really important to supply chain. So highly recommend you go and check that out wherever you listen and watch the show. We also have our AI interactive podcast experience over on letstalksupplychain.com, and you can ask the episode a question, get an executive summary, and main points with timestamps. All right, what else do we have coming up? We have a LinkedIn Live event with the team at Shipium. Now, we're going to be talking about fixing your shipping invoices before they exist. This has been a problem since I've been in operations. I'm actually surprised that we haven't been able to fix it yet, but they have a brand new program that you're going to want to check out, especially if you're in operations, because this is one of the biggest time sucks, I think, for anybody in operations. And so click the link in the comments, click attend, and even if you can't attend live, we will send you the recording. So go check that out. What else have we got? Oh, where are we going to be? Well, in-person events. So I'm going to be on stage with Charlie Shafro, Beth, and Mike Knox over at the Logistics M&A Club. We're going to be talking about the next generation of talent. Now, that's happening in Chicago, September 16th through 17th. So if you're going to be there, hopefully you come and say hi. And then September 23rd, I'm going to be in Defiance, Ohio with the team at Keller Logistics for their summit. I think one of these two are completely sold out, which is so amazing, and I'm super excited. We're going to be recording podcasts on site at this one, where I'm also going to be on a panel, and we're going to be doing some social. So stay tuned for some content coming out of that one. Hazel, our host of Let's Talk Supply Chain Europe, she's going to be speaking at Parcel and Post Expo. That's happening in London, September 23rd through 24th. So if you're there, go and say hi. And then I am going to be at Inland September 28th through the 30th in Chicago. And I'm going to be recording interviews for Inland TV. Now that's going to be coming out on joc.com after the event. So go and check that out. Where else are we going to be? We're going to be at the Retail Supply Chain and Logistics Expo. That is happening September 30th in New York City. Abby is going to be on site doing some social media there for us. And then Hazel's going to be at the Leaders in Logistics Autumn event in London as well. I didn't realize we had this many events happening. We have a webinar coming out with Supply Chain Brain and Oliver White, AI and Integrated Business Planning. Register for that one. That one's October 14th at 2 p.m. Eastern. The link should be in the comments for you. And then last but absolutely not least is Manifest. Go and get your tickets today because you know they're going up between now and February. That's happening in Vegas, February 8th through 10th. I just registered, so you need to go and register it yourself as well. All right, what else do we have? So last week we had a bunch of our live shows happening, and I don't know if you caught them, but we're going to put the links in the comments so you can go check it out. This is Digital Labs. We had a lot of people attending. We test the tools on this show, so you don't have to. These are micro demos and super important when you're thinking about going to look for technology. What else did we have? We had TPM today. They were talking about truckload is getting tight with Eric Johnson. And then we also had Performance Paradox. So highly recommend you go and check those out. We're going to put the links in the comments in case you missed them because they were well attended. We had a lot of great feedback, so go and check those out. All right, over to Camille. We need to introduce our guest for today.
You've heard the pitch. Buy more robots, add more automation. Then the invoice landed and the output barely moved. One person spent this year deciding which of those questions actually reach the industry. John Thornton set out to fill a room with practitioners. Amazon, PepsiCo, Dell Technologies, Wayfair, American Airlines, and HP all showed up. He wanted people who solve real problems on the floor every single day. John is editor-in-chief of Logistics Manager at Akabo Media. His solution isn't more technology. It's finding the right problem first, then sequencing automation, AI, data, people, and process around it. He spent his year finding those answers. Now it's time to hear them. Please welcome John Thornton to Thoughts and Coffee.
Hey, John, how you doing? How you doing?
Hi, Sarah. I'm really well, thank you. Yeah, how are you?
Awesome. I'm super excited to have you on the show. I've interacted with your team on email over the last couple of years, but we've never actually really gotten together. So we're going to do the show today, and then I think you and I are going to catch up after this. Why don't you let everybody know who Akabo Media is and what you represent? Because there's a lot of different things I think that you do.
Yeah, sure thing, Sarah. So, I'm John Thornton. I'm editor-in-chief here at Akabo Media, which is a global publishing and events organizing company. So we're based in London, UK, but we organize exhibitions, conferences, awards all over the world. So, in the USA, in Singapore for the Asia Pacific market, in the Middle East and Africa, and also in Europe too.
Awesome. I love that. And we're going to be featuring one of your articles from your team member today. But obviously before that, and I want to let everybody know the QR code in the top, right hand corner is going to take you to the awards and the intralogistics that's coming up. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute, but highly recommend you go and check out that QR code. Now let's get to the poll of the week. Now you're in publishing, John. So it's always fun to put a question out there to our audiences and really find out where the market is, right? So we do that every single Wednesday morning on our Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn. Now this question, if you could prioritize only one area of warehouse investment over the next 12 to 18 months, which would deliver the biggest operational gain? Now, we had 62 votes on this one. 53% of you said people and process, which is really interesting to me because we're going to be talking about an article a little bit later on about not adding additional labor, but promoting within. So this one's an interesting one to me. 21% AI, software, and data. And 19% is robotics and automation. Only 6% for visibility, which is shocking to me because I feel like I'm still talking about visibility. John, what do you think about the results on this one? Did it surprise you at all?
Yeah, it did actually surprise me because if I had to choose one, I probably would have put the money into visibility,
Right.
ironically. Yeah, although, I'd maybe define that quite broadly as getting the data, the inventory accuracy, and the orchestration layer right, because, automation can make you faster and AI can make you smarter, but neither is particularly useful in the underlying information about what you've got, where it is, and what needs to happen next is unreliable.
Well, and I think it's also really interesting how intertwined all of these are, which is like you just said, right?
Mhm,
So, visibility is almost some of the end result of
mhm,
being able to get a bigger operational gain from the other, maybe two or three.
mhm.
And so that might be why it's lower. But I was surprised too because I've done a number of shows, a number of episodes over the last couple of weeks talking about visibility
Mhm.
and the difference in visibility and what that means to different people within your supply chain organization, et cetera, et cetera. But 53% for people and process actually surprises me as well, because when we think about warehouse investment and we
Mhm.
think about where organizations are, retailers are, CPG, et cetera, and thinking about their warehouse operations, I'm hearing a lot about robotics and automation. So I thought that would have been higher.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to, people and processes, there's a slightly perhaps unglamorous argument that process might actually be the smartest answer. So, technology projects tend to get the headlines, but if you haven't understood where the bottleneck is first, then you kind of risk spending a lot of money on digitalizing inefficiency, I think.
You know what? That is a very, very, very fair point. Fair, fair, fair. All right. Well, if you have not answered the poll, I highly recommend you go and check out the link in the comments and go and do that. I think we've only got a couple more days on that one. Now, before we go into our first article, I usually like to ask about a market update. But when you were introducing yourself, you were talking about the awards. And I've known about the Supply Chain Excellence Awards for a couple of years, although I haven't necessarily been a part of it. So I don't know too much about it. And I think that it's also connected to an event called Intra Logistics. So talk to me about what's coming up in September for you. What does it mean for the industry? How are these awards different? I know that they're judged by, I believe, industry peers. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Akabo Media organizes both the Supply Chain Excellence Awards and Intralogistics. The Supply Chain Excellence Awards have a 30-year history here in the UK, and for the last 3 years, we've been hosting them for the US market as well. And this year, the Supply Chain Excellence Awards take place on the 15th of September at Union Station in Dallas, and that's the night before Intralogistics takes place. That's our 2-day warehousing exhibition. And that's on the 16th and 17th of September at the K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center in Dallas, too. And as far as the awards go, it's the growth of them has been absolutely amazing. So 3 years ago, it was a brand new launch. This year, we have companies from 18 countries, 30 different US states, and more than 150 organizations represented across the program. The growth has totally exceeded our expectations, and we feel it really demonstrates the strength of the US supply chain sector and its appetite for recognizing excellence.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, do people nominate themselves? Like, how does the nomination, how does the judging, and then obviously you've got an awards ceremony, I believe, on the night of the award. So, run us through that.
Yeah, so the entry process is a two-step process. It's all online, and anybody can enter really. So if you're a supplier to the industry, you can enter with a customer, and if you're a customer of that supplier, you can enter yourself. And that, the first stage of that entry process is a written submitted entry where you can support that with video content, uh, photos, any kind of evidence really. We're looking for real world examples of supply chain excellence. So these are projects that have been happening over the last 12 to 24 months or so.
Mhm.
We take those written entries and they get put through an approval process, and then we have our shortlist. That shortlist is announced, and then we come through to the actual second part of the judging process, where we have an independent judging panel. And that's really where we bring together experienced practitioners from across everything like procurement, operations, technology, final mile delivery, track and trace, warehouse systems, digital commerce, et cetera. We get 30, 40 or so of these independent judges to go on Zoom, and they will assess every shortlisted entry via a
Wow.
PowerPoint type presentation. Yeah, it's
30 to 40. That's a lot of people to corral.
yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah. Good luck corrupting them. No, they're brilliant. Our judges are superb. They really know their stuff, and they know what it takes to operate in this sector.
Yeah.
So they are the best people to adjudicate. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's peer-to-peer, which I really, really like. So again, QR code, grab that QR code, go and check out what they're doing. If you haven't nominated yourself for this year, obviously stay in touch with them for next year for when the nominations start all over again, because there are a lot of people doing really, really great things in this industry, and I love to see that they are being recognized. Okay, let's get to our first article. Now, this one is very interesting. I don't know if anybody has seen this one. But this is a luxurious, I don't know, yacht company. I think they were making like millions of dollars of yachts that are electric, but now they've turned their sights to tugboats. And they're looking to electrify the fleet, especially in California for the Port of Long Beach, and I believe the Port of LA, but I think they talk about the Port of Long Beach here. The trouble that I have, and I think this is a really, really good step in the right direction, because in California, they are a tough state for air pollution rules. And so obviously we need to look at alternative ways to be able to keep the air pollution down. But a couple of things stood out for me here. One is a tugboat is going to cost $20 million. Now, if I think about a cargo ship coming into the port, and I think about how many tugboats, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, and if somebody is out there and wants to correct me, I think they need 3 or 4 of those. So if the math is mathing, we're almost at $100 million in tugboats, which I don't know that we have the money for. And then the other part of this was 10 to 15 years, they're saying every segment of marine is going to be electric, which maybe we'll see. I mean, we've already seen in cars with the tax rebates going away that people are now not always looking at or buying electric. So anyways, I'm going to pause there. John, what did you think about this article?
Yeah, I mean, what interested me about this one that isn't it's not electrification for electrification's sake. So, tugboats have several characteristics that, make them unusually well suited to it. They're high utilization assets. Fuel and maintenance are enormous costs. Their operating areas is pretty predictable, and they repeatedly kind of return to that same port. That's a much easier electrification problem than a vessel crossing an ocean. And it reminds me of what we're seeing in road freight, where electrification tends to make the strongest commercial case first, where the duty cycle is predictable.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we're looking to electrify a lot of things. I think the thing that really stood out for me on this one was the cost. And I was like, who is going to pay for that? I think the electrification and the idea around it is great, but it seems to be still fairly expensive. If we think about that, and I think I would have to know more about how much the tugboats do and how long they would last versus maybe the other ones to really decide whether that price tag is worth it or not.
Well, yeah, a big question is around total cost of ownership, right? So a $20 million vessel has to prove itself over an extraordinarily long asset life. The technology can work and still fail commercially if charging, utilization, or even maintenance economics don't quite stack up.
So true. I want to give a shout out. We've got a couple of people over on our Instagram right now. Abira, Claudia, Diego, AFP, I don't know what your name is. 7 Alla, that's part of the challenge with Instagram. And then over on LinkedIn, we've got Jitendra. Now it's time to go to our news desk and find out what the top news stories are for the week. So Diane and Julian, take it away.
First up, US and Canada trade talks collapsed, and 50% tariffs are hitting billions in Canadian goods.
Cement, dairy, hockey sticks, all of it. Canada retaliates September 8. Cross-border freight ran $67.9 billion in June alone.
Fair warning gone. Any shipper touching that lane lost pricing certainty overnight.
Next, UPS finished cutting ties with 2 million Amazon packages a day.
18 months to get there, and UPS calls it done. $4.5 billion in costs walked out the door with it.
That volume didn't vanish. Amazon's own delivery arm is now the country's biggest parcel carrier, and that's leverage shifting away from UPS. Last one, the Panama Canal is capping daily transits as a severe El Nino drought deepens.
Down to 34 transits on September 4, then 32 on September 15. Water flowing into the canal is running 44% below normal.
That's real capacity gone at peak season. Ocean transit times and rates both take the hit.
Sarah, back to you.
Those are some serious news stories. I mean, just to put some of that into perspective around Amazon, 6.7 billion packages in 2025, and their spend on that is 27.9 billion. Like, that's a lot of money that UPS is saying, no to, but they're going to have to find capacity somewhere else. So we're going to have to stay on top of that, especially as consumers, to see what happens. And then obviously for professionals in logistics, trying to figure out all of the new routing because of what's happening. Panama Canal is just another one to add to that list. So definitely keep an eye on that. Do you have any thoughts on any of those top news stories, John?
Yeah, of course. So, when it came to, what's really interesting is that, when it comes to Amazon, they're not only kind of insourcing logistics anymore, right? It's increasingly commercializing the actual infrastructure it's built for itself. So that potentially is much more disruptive to the traditional logistics market.
Yeah. So interesting. All right, let's get to our second article. Now, your team at Akabo Media wrote this one. And so I'm excited that we're going to be reading about this. And actually, you can see on the screen that you can learn more about intralogistics. You can learn more about Supply Chain Excellence Awards through this particular link as well. So highly recommend you go and check it out. Now, this article is about Gimme Beauty and how they were able to boost their warehouse productivity through a new WMS. And there's a couple of really interesting stats here that I want to point out, but really want to drive everybody to read this. So they were able to get inventory accuracy of 98.5% with 0 audit errors. Now, this comes with not adding additional labor and gives them the opportunity to promote within. Now, you would think that this is something new, but it's really not. I'm talking to a lot of customers, clients, companies, professionals, leaders right now who are saying that if we have the right tools, we're not adding additional labor, we're able to promote within because we've done the training, they know the tools, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Are you finding this in the conversations that you're having as well? I would assume, because you wrote the article. Not you, but your team wrote it.
Yeah, no, that's right. So, I think most people tend to associate warehouse automation with robots, right? But I think what's great about this particular story is that it is a reminder that some of the biggest productivity gains still come from software. So, a warehouse management system isn't as visually exciting as a fleet of robots, maybe, but going from 10,000 to 19,000 cases per FTE without increasing headcount is precisely the sort of ROI that gets a CFO interested.
Yeah. I mean, you can't dance with the WMS software. I mean, I've danced with a robot before. You can't dance with it, but if it's going to help with productivity. And another interesting note I thought about this particular article, they said continuous cycle counting and improved lot visibility actually helped them save on tariffs. Now, I wasn't able to ask the question because obviously it's a one-sided article. And John, I don't know if you want to do a follow-up one to this, but that would be my question, right? Because everybody has struggled through this whole tariff debacle, right? Yeah. When it's like 10% over here, 15% coming back, and then we get refunds and all that kind of stuff. And so it was interesting to me that those two things specifically help them save on all of this tariff debacle. And I would really be interested to find out how. And maybe you know the answer.
Well, I mean, the thing I really liked about the case study again was, that better warehouse data didn't just improve picking, right? It's better visibility over inventory already inside the US. They apparently enabled hundreds of thousands of dollars of tariff savings. So that
Right.
shows how operational technology can suddenly become a strategic tool when trade conditions become more volatile.
Yeah, and it's not just trade conditions, right? I would mark that down as a disruption. I mean, we're in the
Mm,
land of disruption just being our everyday, and that is one of them. And
mhm.
there's a variety of other disruptions that are happening either simultaneously or they're going to happen every day thereafter. And so the fact that we can mitigate the risk and
Mhm.
also manage the disruption at the same time is really a win for everybody.
Yeah, supply chains are pretty good, right, at kind of pricing that in. It's when it comes to um, I say that not much worse, but what they're not maybe so great at doing is kind of dealing with is uncertainty about what the
Yeah.
tariff is going to be 3 to 6 months from now, right?
So true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The future predictions. Okay, well, I highly recommend you go and check out that article. We're going to get to our last article. Now, this one's kind of fun, and it tells us a lot about what's happening in logistics tech, to be very, very honest. And it's not a way that I have thought about logistics tech. And I hope, John, that this has piqued some curiosity for you as well. So, this particular gentleman has a plumbing business and he's a plumber, but now he's turned logistics tech entrepreneur. And you might be asking, how? Well, he wants to bring retail, like if you're he wants you to be able to do personalized shopping and then be able to bring those shipments together and deliver them as one to your door. And it's interesting to me because he's talking about localized shipping. And the news desk mentioned the tariffs between Canada and the US. And I've been watching some of the Canadian small businesses, and they've done a shout out to the Canadian government to say, hey, we need shipping charges to come down. If you want us to look internationally and we're not shipping to the US anymore, we need that to come down. And one example, actually, I want to share the other day. I had to send something to somebody when I was in Canada, and it was only an envelope, and it cost me $20. And it's like a 2-hour drive from where I
Wow.
was. So I just want to put it into perspective. When we think about localized shipping and we think about international shipping for small parcels, it's
Mm.
not an easy thing to navigate, and it's very, very, very pricey, which means that we actually price it out sometimes. Like people actually won't buy the product. Anyways, I'm sort of deviating from this particular article, but I wanted to mention that because he's talking about localized shipping. But what he also talks about is customer experience. He says, as long as you solve the problem, you keep your word, and you provide confidence over speed. He says that is the key, like that's the recipe to success for customer experience. What stood out from this article for you, John?
Yeah, when it comes to Modra, I don't think that the difficult part, here is it's not really the AI, right? It's the hard part is making the physical kind of retail network behave like a digital
Yes.
inventory pool. So Savvy can recommend the perfect shirt, right? But if the
Yeah.
retailer's inventory record says that there's a medium in stock and somebody bought that in store 10 minutes ago, then the
Yes.
then the experience fails. So real-time inventory accuracy, retail integrations, driver density, and returns become absolutely critical.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even think about that, but that is so true. If I go into the store and I buy it, but they're showing it as available online, then your customer experience and your confidence scores go down.
Mhm.
And the other thing I wanted to mention is that this also shows us that logistics tech is kind of going like each way sideways. And what I mean by that is he says that he's building a retail marketplace, a discovery platform, a logistics network, and a personalized shopping experience. Now, those are four things that we generally don't coincide with logistics tech, but this
Mm,
is really how the new wave of entrepreneurs coming into supply chain is thinking about the holistic experience for the customer.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, where I think the Modra could potentially differentiate is not by trying to beat the likes of Amazon at being Amazon, right? So it's the
Mhm.
local discovery piece, boutiques, malls, and retailers whose inventory isn't easily searchable in one place, combined with the personalized shopping layer.
Right, right. It's so true. John, this has been fascinating. And I want to just do a friendly reminder for that QR code in the right hand corner. Go and check out the Supply Chain Excellence Awards and Intralogistics. It's been great to get to know you, John. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us in the audience as well. I'll be back next week for another great episode of Thoughts and Coffee. And I hope you all have a great week. John, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sarah. It's been a real pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Let's talk supply